Good morning. You're watching Much Ado About Something, and I'm Donna. Well, if you watched our video, Mullein Uses for an Ordinary Person, you saw Donald and I harvest our mullein for the year. Well, now we have a lot of this mullein on hand, and I wanted to do a short video and show you how to dehydrate this mullein. To dry and dehydrate mullein, 2 simple ways. Thank you for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been around for a while, welcome back. Let's get to dehydrating our mullein. Well, Donald and I harvested our mullein for the year. We were able to go and do that. We do that every year. If you watched our video, Mullein Uses for an Ordinary Person, you'll see how we harvested that. And when we cut that down, I had it in this bag right here. I had taken this bag here, put it in. Now, it's quite a bit of mullein here. It's a big pile. So what in the world do we do with all of this? In an average household, what would you do with this much mullein? It's a year's worth. Well, I've been in the process going through the leaves and just picking out what doesn't need to be in there. This is cleaver. It's an herb in its own right. But right here is a little pile of debris that I've just picked out of this pile of mullein that I've harvested. Now we just cut it off in rosette form. So over here I have a pile of mullein that I've just put a rubber band around the top where we cut it off, and I've just banded it up like this. And I'm going to hang this up to dry. Mullein has a pretty thick stem that has quite a bit of moisture in it. So, you just have to watch it and be careful and make sure it's drying out like it should. I'll show you where I'm going to hang it, and you'll see that it gets a lot of circulation. I hang it right here on this piece of lattice, this foyer area here in our hallway. Up at the top of the steps, we put this lattice up to keep Madeline from swinging down on it there and maybe flipping over and falling down the steps. But I have found after putting it up there that it's an excellent place to dry herbs. So I just take an S-hook. You can get these at any hardware or order them, wherever you get your stuff at. And after taking a rubber band and putting it around this bundle of mullein, I just hook this S-hook on this rubber band. I use a rubber band on the mullein bundle, so as the moisture comes out of the plant, out of the herb, and this dehydrates, this rubber band will flex with it, and it will shrink as this plant shrinks when the moisture dries out of it. So that's why I use a rubber band to bundle it up instead of string. The string will be loose as this dries, and the moisture comes out of it. The string will get loose, and your plants and stuff will fall out. And I just use the rubber band because as, the moisture comes out and this plant shrinks, this rubber band will shrink with it. And after I've gotten the S-hook hooked into the rubber band, I just hang the mullein up on this lattice, and then it starts to dry out. And I'll do that with all of the mullein that I have. I'll go ahead and hang it up on this lattice, and that's one of the ways that I dry the mullein after our harvest. That's Donald's fly swat. He has to have a fly swat. Lord, he can't stand a fly in the house. You just put your hooks on all your bundles until you so you can hang them up. Now you don't want to get these too close to each other. You want to hang them where they'll have good air circulation. I've got some sage here hanging from the last time I harvested. It's still hanging up there. And so you have your bundles of mullein hanging there. That gets good air circulation right there, and that'll dry really well. Now this was a big haul of mullein. This was a year's worth, you know. I take these racks and I lay the mullein out on the racks for them to air dry. I do have a dehydrator, but I don't always want to use electricity. I don't always want to use an electric dehydrator. When I can lay this out flat and let the air go ahead and dehydrate my herbs and plants, then I just do that. It's a simple, easy way that anybody can do it without putting money into a dehydrator. Long before there were electric dehydrators, people laid their goods out. They laid their herbs and their fruits and things that they were drying. They laid them out on wire racks and dehydrated their stuff. And that's exactly how I do most of mine today. I go through here and clean them up, anything that shouldn't be on here. And you know, mullein has leaves that are kind of like natural Velcro. They'll stick and pick up stuff. So you might, you know, this mullein harvest was extremely clean. We picked the rosettes, the first and second year rosettes before the second year rosette before the stalk came up in the middle. They can get really dirty, and if you find a real brown leaf that's really dirty, just don't use that one. Just go ahead and toss that back in your compost, and just use your extremely clean leaves. Now this one here, you can rinse. Of course, if you wet it, it's going to take longer for it to dry. But you can see there's some soil, some dried dirt right there on this this mullein. I'm sorry, I want to call it comfrey, but I know it's mullein. So I'll lay that one to the side, and that'll be one that I'll have to rinse that. I'll have to wash that dirt off. And any of them you find like that, you'll have to wash that dirt off. And of course, then you've wet your herb, you've wet your plant, so it's going to take it longer to dry out. And any of them that I wet, I always make sure I lay in a single layer so that they can get that water dried off of them. And you can see right here is like a rosette. It's one of the rosettes we clipped off. You see it's still sticking together on its stalk. And I'll leave it just like that. Here's a brown leaf. You take out anything like that, it'll go in your compost pile. And you can just put a rubber band around this and hang it up. The rest of this I'll be laying out in a single layer and let it dehydrate it. It won't take but a few days, maybe a week at the most, for this to dehydrate. And I'll put it in inconspicuous places all around the house for it to dehydrate. And then I'll gather it up after it gets thoroughly dry, and I'll package it up to be used in tinctures and tea and oil infusions later. Thank you for joining me today, and like always, until next time.